Hi, this is Chad Schearer, CVA's Director of Advertising and Media Relations, and also host of Shoot Straight TV.
And I'm David Blanton from Realtree Outdoors.
In this segment, we're going to cover types of muzzleloaders. When it comes to types of muzzleloaders, if you want to keep it as simple as possible, there are only two major categories in use today. Inlines, the more modern design, and sidelocks, the more primitive design.
That's exactly right, Chad. And those are easy to distinguish just by looking at them. Sidelocks have a hammer on the side of the breech, and the fire must enter the breech from the side of the barrel. With modern inlines, however, the hammer is situated directly behind or in line with the propellant charge, which makes ignition faster and powder burn more efficient.
And you know, David, it's amazing how many different types of inline muzzleloaders we've seen in the past 20 years as they've evolved into what we have today.
It sure is, Chad. From the very first conventional spring plunger type inline that first came on the market back in the early 1990s, we've seen bolt action inlines, falling block inlines, and finally brake action inlines. All of these designs had their days in the sun, but virtually all of the inline muzzleloaders that are popular today are of the brake action design. And this makes sense, as the brake action design is certainly the easiest of all to use when it comes to capping the gun or disassembling it for cleaning.
So today's shooters really only have three choices when it comes to the type of muzzleloader they want to hunt with. If they want to use the most modern and easy to use design, it's going to be the brake action inline. If they want the challenge of truly historical primitive weapons, then it will be one of the two types of sidelock designs, either the cap lock or the flintlock.
But no matter what design they all have one thing in common. You've got to load your powder and projectile from the muzzle of the gun. That's why they are called muzzleloaders, right?
So let's do a quick review of the different types of muzzleloading guns used in hunting today. David, why don't you start us off with the most popular muzzleloaders, the brake action inline?
Brake action inlines like this CVA Acura were really the greatest innovation to hit the muzzleloading gun industry in recent years. The brake action has one big functional advantage over the earlier inline designs. It's a closed breech design, meaning that the charge is protected from the elements. This greatly reduces the chances of misfire due to the charge being fouled by moisture. Also, they're very easy to load and to clean. As you can see, the action works just like that of an over-under shotgun. The barrel just breaks away from the frame, which allows for easy capping of the gun without the use of a capping tool, eliminating one of the big hassles associated with the conventional or bolt action style inlines. Also, because the barrel breaks away from the frame, you can open the action, remove the breech plug, and then clean the barrel straight through without having to remove it from the frame. And as you can see, the hand removable design of the Acura's breech plug makes this incredibly easy.
Now for the sidelocks, until about 25 years ago, cap locks were the only choice for most hunters for special muzzleloading seasons. The way it works is that you have a hammer on the side of the gun, a percussion cap goes into the nipple, and inside it is an explosive material called fulminate. When the hammer strikes the cap, fire is directed through the fire channel of the nipple and into the breech of the gun, where it then ignites the main powder charge, and the resulting explosion pushes the projectile out of the end of the barrel. Now, even more primitive, flintlocks look very similar, with the hammer on the side of the gun. But instead of using a percussion cap ignition, the jaws of the hammer hold a small piece of flint, and when the trigger is pulled, the flint strikes the steel frizzen and drops sparks into the flash pan of the primer powder. The fire generated by the ignited primer powder travels down the flash hole into the side of the breech and ignites the main charge.
And there you have it. Brake action inlines, cap locks, and flintlocks. The three types of muzzleloaders you are most likely to encounter today. If you find one different than any of these, you better get on the phone with the Antiques Roadshow.